Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another Autosphere video interview. Today we have with us Carol Hochu, President of the Tire and Rubber Association of Canada. Carol, welcome to another broadcast.
Thank you so much, Hugh. Happy to be with you again.
Obviously, as we get into the end of the year, it's December as we're doing this interview. TRAC has released its new winter tire report. So I'd love to get from you some of the key takeaways from this latest report.
Well, thank you. Let me provide you with just some of the numbers that struck me coming out of our report, sort of three top numbers. First of all, nearly 70% of drivers outside Quebec are using winter tires. So these numbers are great news for wintertime road safety. It appears that Canadian drivers are getting the message about the importance of winter tires, and we're seeing that as the number of drivers using winter tires continues to slowly rise. The second important number that I found striking was that nearly 80% of Canadian motorists riding on winter tires say that their tires have saved them from a collision or an injury. Very important. The last number of import is that 2/3 of drivers riding on winter tires cite protecting their family as the top reason for investing in winter tires. So clearly, a lot of good stats and interesting results. However, consumer education is still required to get an even higher level of winter tire adoption. So still work to be done in convincing those who do not use winter tires to use them.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff, Carol. And obviously, in the last year, with a lot of people still stuck at home, we've still managed to see sort of winter tire usage increase, and even in places where it's not mandated. So I think that's really quite an interesting observation, isn't it? That people are starting to get the message. They're starting to sort of understand the benefits of having winter tires, what they really, really do provide during the colder months of the year, right?
Exactly. And when I think about what do we think is behind that, certainly I think we can chalk it up to the recognition on the part of drivers that the winter tires can help prevent a collision or injury because of the superior traction and the shortened stopping distance that the softer rubber compounds in winter tires provide. I'd also like to think that the messaging provided by TRAC in our annual campaign, but it's other government agencies and bodies, road safety groups. It seems clearly that there's a bit of a chorus of the convinced that winter tires are an excellent choice, and but we do all have to do a little bit more work together to convince the other non-believers of the benefits.
And I think what's really interesting, if we look at sort of Quebec, for example, they've had winter tires mandated for a number of years now, more than a decade actually. And I think it's kind of interesting to see, what perhaps some findings TRAC and also Transport de Quebec have been able to conclude from the situation in the province now that winter tires have been mandated there for such a long period of time.
Yes, excellent question. Now, I did a little digging and I wasn't able to find some very recent data, but if we go back even to a study from the Quebec Ministry of Transportation a couple of years after the implementation of the winter tire mandate, there are some very interesting statistics. First of all, winter road collisions decreased by 5%. About 600 fewer people were injured annually in winter road collisions. And thirdly, deaths and serious injuries due to winter road collisions decreased by about 3%. So I can only conclude that those positive benefits of legislating winter tires continue in Quebec today.
Do you think there's some approaches that have proved effective and ones that we might be able to continue using as we move forward?
Yes. So from our most recent winter tire report, we found, and I've mentioned this, touched on this slightly, government agencies and road safety groups have not only been receptive to the messaging around the safety advantage of winter tires, but they're part of the chorus that joins with us as we work towards increasing awareness and driver education, and our collective efforts to continue to encourage increased winter tire usage nationwide. Specifically, our ongoing research showed a number of key factors: government mandates, financial incentives, and public awareness campaigns do play a very key role in educating Canadian drivers. So just on the government mandates, we've already touched lightly on this, but Quebec, of course, has a winter tire mandate from December 1st to March 15th. And British Columbia, on the beloved West Coast, requires winter tires are change on most routes in BC from beginning of October to end of April, unless you're traveling on certain highways not located in mountain passes or with a lot of snowfall, then that requirement ends on March 31st. In terms of incentives, there are a few. Both the provinces of Ontario and Newfoundland do require insurance premium reductions. I was pleasantly surprised a couple of years ago when I reached out to my insurance provider here in Ontario and got a premium reduction for installing winter tires. Of course, there's going to be some terms and conditions, but it's worth investigating and exploring if you live in Ontario or Newfoundland. And then, of course, the province of Manitoba does provide low-interest loans for the purchase of winter tires through the Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation. So if you look across Canada, we've got 5 provinces offering some initiative or incentive or benefit, whether it's mandated winter tires in BC and Quebec, whether it's the potential of reduced premiums for using winter tires in Ontario and Newfoundland, or whether it's in Manitoba where low interest financing is available to the purchase of winter tires. There are some incentives there.
I think what was really interesting is obviously this correlation between winter tire usage and insurance premium reduction. So it seems that that's quite an incentive for consumers, and a very effective one from what we understand. Do you think that's a trend that's expected to continue? Because obviously we've seen that having winter tires does reduce the risk of collisions and obviously the risk of insurance rates going up.
I do expect that it is a trend that will continue, but I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes talking about those drivers who don't use winter tires and what are the reasons why they don't, which came out of our survey. So interestingly, the 3 most common reasons, number 1 is the belief that all-season tires are good enough. So 60% of those who said they don't use winter tires cite this belief that all-season tires are good enough. The next impediment at 28% is the cost. The third reason is people citing that they have reduced their driving in the winter. 21% claimed that. So definitely cost is a barrier. And I just wanted to pull that thread a little bit more. And while there is indeed an upfront cost to purchasing winter tires, there are also potential cost savings associated with winter tires. For example, a 2009 Swiss study comparing winter tires and all-season tires concluded that alternating summer and winter tires throughout the year resulted in a reduction of 5% in fuel consumption and 10 to 15% in mileage performance, as opposed to using all-season tires throughout the year. And in addition to the premium reductions in insurance and low-interest loans, don't forget that many tire producers do offer financial incentives on the purchase of a new set of winter tires. So I think in this part of our study, I've come to the conclusion that drivers really need to weigh, like a lot of important decisions in life, you need to weigh the cost against the potential, in this case, life-saving benefits of investing in winter tires.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. I think that's a really, really interesting point. I mean, you are going to spend a little bit more up front, but I think if you look at it over the long term, the savings that you're going to obtain from spending that little bit extra up front far greater, right?
I agree.
Yeah, excellent. So speaking of like savings and pricing and purchasing, what do you think are some of the key considerations when it comes to shopping for winter tires from a consumer perspective today?
Yes, I think the most important one is that tire shoppers should look for tires with the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol, or 3PMS for short, as we like to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tires that carry this symbol meet or exceed Transport Canada's snow traction standards. So certainly there are a couple of choices when it comes to winter tires. You can have an all-season tire with this 3PMS symbol, or you could have dedicated winter tires, which are primarily designed only for use in winter. And of the first choice, the all-season tire with the 3PMS symbol, that certainly meets the definition of a winter tire. And that tire definitely provides better traction than an all-season tire without the symbol. These tires are, of course, designed for year-round use, and they're a better option than an all-season tire without. But depending where you live in Canada, they may not be the most suitable in the worst winter driving conditions. A dedicated winter tire, as viewers might know, features the softest rubber compounds and provides optimal traction and stopping power, even in the most frigid temperatures, severe snow events, and all those other conditions, slush, ice, whatever, that make up the melee that is winter driving in Canada.
Yeah. So I think to quote from somebody once, that in a way, when it comes to winter tires, there really is no substitute, right?
Correct.
Okay. Obviously, you talked a little bit about sort of rubber compounds and things like that. But one thing we have seen in the tire industry overall is advances in compounding and also tire manufacturing, which has basically impacted both the performance and I think the adoption of winter tires as well. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I do think it's fair. And, tire manufacturers are always advancing and innovating and improving their products. Tires, as you know, are a very complex product. And tire makers consider many performance aspects when it comes to tires. So that includes traction, tread wear, and rolling resistance. And these three factors receive the most attention as they're directly linked with safety, longevity, and fuel economy. And in the tire world, these three factors comprise what is known as the performance triangle. So if you think, you see me making my visual about a triangle, and if you have each of those three factors on each of the three tips of the triangle, you could appreciate that if you adjust one, it might have an impact on the other two. So from the tire manufacturer's perspective, it's always a bit of a compromise when it comes to making adjustments to one or more of those three factors. But in terms of performance and on winter tires, I think the best thing to do would be to go to your favorite internet browser, plug in the name of your favorite tire producer or brand, and maybe add the words winter tires. And I think viewers would be surprised to see how much information there is out there regarding the advances and the tire innovations that are taking place, including winter tires.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point.
I would like just to say one more word, if I could, Hugh, about the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol. So the Canadian government does recognize that tires that carry this symbol are considered winter tires that meet the safety standards for winter driving. So Canadian federal regulation under Transport Canada mandates that all tires manufactured and marketed to perform in winter conditions must meet the standard, which inside the industry is called ASTM F-1805 driving traction test. And as an aside, ASTM is an international standards organization that develops and publishes standards. And so the tires that pass this standard then get to carry the 3PMS symbol. So to wrap up this question, I would say, in summary, tire producers continue to advance and innovate and improve their product offering, including winter tires. And drivers should feel, I think, comforted to know that Canada has a legal framework for distinguishing winter tires.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really good to know. And thanks for sharing that with us today, Carol. And I think sort of moving on, obviously, as we head into 2022, travel restrictions hopefully will continue to ease, and that means more Canadians will be driving again. So how do you see perhaps winter tire usage and adoption trending in 2022 if that happens, and maybe even beyond that?
Well, I think you're quite right in your statement, Hugh. And in fact, our survey found that 30% of Canadian drivers said they will continue to restrict their winter driving due to COVID. However, that's much improved over last year's study, which found that in the more height and the throes of COVID, 65% of Canadians said they were going to drive less in the winter because of the pandemic. So it certainly appears that we're returning to pre-pandemic driving volumes. And as someone who drives in the highway system in Southern Ontario, I can assure you that I'm seeing increased driving volumes. So, as you said, hopefully as the economy rebounds, as driving returns to pre-pandemic levels, it's very likely that growth in this segment will continue to rebound, to trend upwards as Canadians continue to adopt winter tires. It certainly does appear that winter tire usage is picking up. It's slowly ticking and trending upwards nicely. And I think this is a testament to Canadians. They've done a great job in recognizing the benefits of winter tires. And so they continue to equip their vehicles year after year.
Okay, great. Carol, any final thoughts today?
Yes. Thank you for that opportunity. I think for those who are interested in learning more about the advantages of winter tires, I certainly invite you to visit our website, which is TRACanada.ca. Right on the home page, you'll find a couple of important links about winter tires, including our most recent winter tire report. And if you're someone who enjoys learning by watching videos, then I'd recommend that you go to YouTube and search for Be Tire Smart, which is our consumer initiative. You will find all kinds of interesting tire information videos, including those that focus on winter tires and winter driving. And I guess last but not least, if you're considering winter tires, I do recommend reaching out to your local tire dealer, your tire retailer. They are a valuable resource, standing by to help. They can talk to you about the right tire options for you and your vehicle. And I guess last but not least, it's really important, if you haven't done it, you should do it now. Winter has arrived here in Southern Ontario, so you want to be prepared and you want to feel safe and sure-footed as you begin your winter driving.
Right. Well, as they say, no time like the present, right?
No time like the present, indeed.
Okay. Thanks, Carol. It's been great chatting with you today.
Great to speak with you, Hugh. Thanks so much for this opportunity.